But if you also want to listen to the rest of the show, the bumper edition, click in the card above our heads, or you can download in the most audio platforms below the show. But for the rest of the people watching on YouTube, you can watch our bite-sized reviews, and we'll be taking your clips and a lot of questions in this second half of this show from some familiar faces that we spoke to over this season. And once again, this episode is sponsored by OneFootball, and do make sure you check out the excellent free OneFootball app to keep up to date, the first to know of all the latest transfer news, stats, scores, all in one place. To download the OneFootball app, click the link in the description. So moving on then to our goal of the season. Now, so many nominees for this category this year. I think we were blessed by so many great goals this year. I mean, I can't even remember what the goal of the season was last year.
I've forgotten some of these, Freddie, to be honest.
So the official listed, the short list on the official website was Bertrand versus Leicester, Hojbjerg versus Brighton at home, Armstrong versus Fulham away, Redmond versus Derby County and in the FA Cup away, ward-prowse against United in the free kick, Valery in the same game, ward-prowse against Tottenham, another free kick, and Shane Long's fastest ever goal. But what did our correspondents have to say?
My goal of the season has to go to Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg for his strike against Brighton and Hove Albion at St Mary's. It was a fantastic goal, brilliant technique from outside the area to swerve it in the far post. To be fair, it was a goal worth winning any game, but in typical Saints style, we let in a 90th minute equaliser. There's been some brilliant other goals from Saints this season, including Jan Valery's wonderful strike at Manchester United, but for me, Pierre's strike against Brighton just tips it.
In terms of goal of the season, I think Nathan Redmond was in with a shout with his goal against Huddersfield Town in the final game of the season. For me, though, I'm a bit of a sucker for a good free kick, and James Ward-Prowse, who is another player who I believe's stepped up leaps and bounds this season. His free kick against Tottenham, for me, is the goal of the season for Southampton. Obviously, it was the goal that sent us 2-1 up as well, to win against Spurs in what turned out to be pretty vital for Southampton's Premier League survival.
Nothing really beats Valery's wonder strike against United, but another player who's been much maligned, Cedric Suarez, also scored against David De Gea, and I just don't think anything beats that feeling of euphoria when that goal went in. I don't think any of us realised that he had that in him, and I don't think he even realised that he had it in him.
Southampton scored a collection of good goals throughout the 2018-19 campaign. But for me, the best one was scored by James Ward-Prowse against Man United. Many will believe that his goal against Tottenham was the best, and it's certainly understandable because that too was a fantastic free kick. But for me, the goal against Man United tops the list. To have scored a goal of that fashion in that occasion against Man United away from home against David De Gea, who, despite his flaws this season, remains a world-class goalkeeper, was a magnificent moment. And we can see now that Prowse is becoming that reliable midfielder and the reliable set-piece specialist that we all thought he'd become. He's always been good from dead ball situations, but he'd never truly had the stats and the numbers to back that up. But to have scored 2 goals in quick succession against Man United and against Tottenham of that quality, it speaks volumes about his ability from these set pieces. And I think that now in Prowse we've got a reliable player. And if he can continue to keep scoring sensational goals, then there's no reason why he can't solidify his place in that England squad and go on to have a really, really good future. The future that we all hoped for in the beginning at St Mary's Stadium.
Hey guys, and thanks for having me back again for another end of season review. For goal of the season, I've gone back and forth on this a bunch of times. All of the ones that were nominated by the club seem to either be the really strong, powerful blast that we all like to see, but sometimes they're a bit hit and hope, or they were set pieces, and I like goals from open play. But after kind of thinking about it for a while, I think I have to go with James Ward-Prowse's free kick against Tottenham, 2 weeks in a row, beating a fairly decent goalkeeper, this time the World Cup winner. And I think the context of it all does it for me. Given that it put us ahead, it gave us the lead in a game that we desperately needed at a time in the season when we were starting to run out of chances. We weren't really sure. We looked at the run-in and it looked like we would definitely have some, but that goal, that whip, all of that, the fact that it was at home, I think that is what does it for me. So James Ward-Prowse, goal of the season.
As to the goal of the season, And again, there are 3 big candidates here. Actually 4. I'm not very good at making decisions. Jan Valery against Man United. James Ward-Prowse free kick against Man United. James Ward-Prowse free kick against Spurs. Nathan Redmond's goal on the Sunday just gone against Huddersfield. The only good part of that game, let's be honest. But I'm going to go with one that was against Brighton at home way back. When was that? Way back. You might remember it. It was Monday the 17th of September 2018, and it was an absolute world-class strike by Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg, which basically came out of nothing. It was being cleared out of the box by a Brighton player, and then boom! It surprised us all, and I became quite dizzy in the head from celebrating that one. Unbelievable strike. That's my favourite goal of this campaign. Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg. He's from Munich.
But I'm a sucker for a long-range strike, and there was nothing finer than Jan Valery's strike against Man United. Yes, I'm a fan of Prowse's free kicks against United and Spurs, but long-range ones are they're unexpected. Nobody expected Valery to hit that. And we're all aware of his potential. But if you were unaware, that was his welcome. He'd arrived then, and if you're looking to make a name for yourself, there's no finer stage to do it than at Old Trafford against David De Gea.
Plenty of nominations then for James Ward-Prowse, and with due credit, wonderful technique to do those free kicks and deliver those back-to-back weeks against Man United into Tottenham, and you were wooing in it in the last part. His goal against Tottenham.
I loved it, absolutely loved it. I think we've had enough of that probably, but. And I like the fact that there's a nice cross section of goals there, so that proves we're doing something right. But I will go with Ben and Mike, and again, just before this goal happened, I turned to my colleague next to me, Stuart, my season ticket colleague in the Kingsland North there, and said, "Don't shoot." I said, "Don't shoot." So, Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg, you made me look. I'm right, monkey, but I will give you the goal of the season for that wonderful strike, because it did, like the guys say, come out of absolutely nothing.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I think it is the longest goal of the season from the longest distance goal of the season. I think it was 35 yards?
Is that right?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. And, very reminiscent of the Cuco Martina drive.
I think
Arsenal.
I said don't shoot that night as well, actually.
Well, here's the thing. I think I slated Cuco Martina that night just before he scored that goal, made me eat my words. But that was years ago. But this year is Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg. And, I suppose leading from example this season, Pierre, not afraid to sort of get stuck in, but also coming out with some important goals, twice against Brighton, a goal against Man City around Christmas time. But it is somewhat fortunate that we've got so many great goals this season, and in fact we've scored 14 outside the box this year.
Yeah, and I think Kev's pretty close to the second one. Jan Valery's effort against Man United was very special, and you could argue 3 or 4 of those ones. James Ward-Prowse's free kicks against United and Spurs were very, very special. So it's almost impossible, isn't it? But it's nice that we're scoring quality goals, because I think the one thing when we sold Gabster in January, and we never replaced him.
Oh, that was a goal of the season last year. It was against Swansea.
Against Swansea, from 1 metre. But, when we've lost him and you're thinking, where are these goals coming from? But my goodness, we've scored some right quality goals. And of course, the one against Huddersfield was very, very special by Nathan Redmond. But
I think both goals, in fact, it is worth a mention. His goal away from home, a wonderful...
Burnley, was it?
Yeah,
Burnley was a decent
if
effort.
we start with Huddersfield, a wonderful through ball from Hojbjerg, and he's straight in the goal, smashed at the top corner. His first goal actually that season.
The first one,
then back in, what was it, February? Always February in Burnley, isn't it?
It's always February,
but
minus 10.
He nutmegs Jack Hawke and then drills it bottom corner. So Nathan Redmond's certainly got a few to his bow this season.
Yeah, and it's nice to be scoring those quality of goals, and it gives you a good sense of expectation for next season, that when these guys have had a summer together under Ralph and hopefully some decent new signings, that we can look forward to some goals like this next season.
So I want to highlight, actually, Nick told us his side of the story at Watford. I said to him, he's infamously known for being into the ground late. However, you travelled with him that day, and you were both actually, in fact, in your seat to watch the fastest ever goal in Premier League history.
Well, we were stood up, actually. We were. I don't sit down if I can avoid it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we were stood up there. Nick just... Because my seat was down the front in the second row, and I thought, I don't really want to upset people down there because I'm a bit loud at games. So Nick came into the ground. He said, look, there's a big space here. We'd go in there. And they had left it. And, Shane, incredible.
So Nick tells us the story about you guys were in the pub before the game, and
Okay,
you were with our friend Pat, who was designated driver for the night.
Yeah.
And Nick says, I think it was your round apparently, and you said, no, Nick, let's leave it till after the game. And usually Nick seems to assume that you kind of forget about the round during the game, and you go separate ways after the game.
No, elephant brains. Yeah.
But luckily, Shane Long scored that goal, and Pat said to you guys, I'll meet you around front of the pub later on, and you bought Nick a pint after the game.
I did, yeah. Bought Nick a pint. He's such a nice guy. No, look, that was a special goal. That was a very special goal.
And nobody expected it either.
No, it was actually, all right, he shut the guy down, but the finish was exquisite. And Ben Foster, let's face it, has been one of the top performing keepers of the season, despite a couple of howlers that he did. But he has been a fantastic keeper. But that was a really quality finish.
And I suppose that's
that must be the longest time between an opening goal and an equalising goal.
Yes, it must be a record somewhere.
I guess. We like records.
First minute, and then what was it, the 89th minute, another late goal. But less is said about that, the better.
Yeah.
But it's romantic to nominate Shane Long. But I suppose the award goes to then Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg against Brighton at home.
Hojbjerg, yeah. A tremendous strike. Shame that we didn't have the 3 points that night. But his goal at Brighton as well.
Yeah, wonderfully worked, 1-2 at Redmond.
To me, again, a massive turning point in the season. And that day, I thought we're staying up. That was the day I thought we've sorted this now.
And that
very confident.
That goal, and actually, he ran up to the fans, giving it heart, like you said. Giving it the desire, and really giving it back to the fans. And
it's one of those special away days, Freddie, when everybody's had a pint after the game and are all singing songs.
Yeah.
And
that's what
you live for, mate.
Yeah.
That's what we live for.
That's when we knew we were confident staying up.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Goal of the season, then Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg. There'll be a pint at the Five Rivers behind the bar waiting for you.